do it, commit to relaxation.
Hello and welcome to Meet the Coach. I'm your host, Carla Egan, and today we're going to be talking about whether it's your time or your energy and attention that needs managing. Our guest today is Christie Flora from Florandorder. Now, Christie calls herself a passionate time trainer, and I love that. And she's a goal strategist. Christie gets you organised, she gets you centred and focused with systems and strategies. And she also develops your productivity muscle. I kind of like that. Christie's based in Melbourne, Australia, and joins me today. Hi, Christie, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's wonderful to have you. Now, our theme today is centered around productivity and time, which is something we all have. We all have that in common, and we've all got the same amount of time, right?
Yeah.
So before we jump into this topic, I'd really like to know, why is time management so important to you?
For me, it's really important because it's life management. So time is life management. Everything that we do, it comes back to how much time we have to spend on it. And as you said, we all have the same amount of time. So how we use that is critically important going forward, because not to be morbid, but we don't know how much time we actually do have here. And if we're wasting that time on things that don't ultimately matter, or we're getting caught up in the busyness competition, then that's just it's wasting life. So time management is really important to me because of that connection to life and the things that actually matter to us.
It's a really interesting take that you play on the time, because we tend to think about time with productivity, how much can we do in a day, what can we juggle, and we don't think about it in terms of our mortality. So I love your focus on that. So thinking about time in terms of productivity for a moment, what would you say are the top 3 challenges or problems that you tend to see, and how do you tackle that from helping someone manage their time, Christie?
Yeah, so I basically work with people who they're in overwhelm, they're not clear on their priorities, and they lack follow through. So meeting their inner expectations as well as outer expectations. So unable to finish a project once they've started. So if I look back to overwhelm, so overwhelm is just that, it's that awful feeling of, of drowning, of just being, one more thing added to your list is just going to make everything cave in around you. And yeah, it feels awful. It really, really just feels like you're at the end of your tether. So with overwhelm, it sounds kind of not quite the right thing to do, but to treat it like a technical problem, because going back to having how many hours we have available to us, if we're in overwhelm, it simply means that there's just too much on our plate. So if we can take it back to that really basic concept of there's just too much going on, how can we really scale back? Then that's really the first step with dealing with overwhelm. And then we look at, I call it the 4 Ds. So that's delete, diminish, delay, and delegate. So going through a to-do list and seeing what things can go, what can be put off, what can be delegated, and what can be diminished. So, and that one's a good one for perfectionists. So what can be actually halved in, like just, taken down a notch. So that's helping people with overwhelm. I just, it's probably one of the main reasons why people come to me. I do have an organizing overwhelm worksheet that's available through my website. And that's your first step, just to have a complete brain dump, get everything out of your head. I'm very big on getting everything out of your head and giving yourself a break. And because your brain is not about holding a lot of stuff. It's great for new ideas, but not holding on to everything that we've got going on. That's where we need to move to other tools and other systems. And lack of priorities. So that kind of works with the overwhelm as well. So someone will come to me with a lot going on and not sure where to start. And really, that's where we start looking at values and getting into how do we prioritize that? What's the vision of their life, and how does that tie into actually how they're spending their time? So I really love that aspect, like going back to the philosophical kind of aspect or angle of time management and productivity. It's about the vision that we have for our life and the priorities that we focus on in order to create that life that we have for ourselves. And the third aspect was, so follow through. So helping people with follow through. I'm a huge fan of Gretchen Rubin's work, The 4 Tendencies. I find that seems to work a lot for my clients. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, jump on Google, do the 4 Tendencies quiz and see where in the 4 tendencies you fall. And it's a really great guidance for understanding how we meet inner and outer expectations. A lot of my clients are obligers. So they, if something is needed by someone else, they will do that with no problem. But if it's something that they've set for themselves, they have a hard time achieving that goal. So helping obligers and helping people meet those inner and outer expectations is something I really love about my work, and something I find is one of the most common aspects of the work, helping people complete the projects and actually follow through on things that they've decided are important to them.
Wonderful. I just want to pick up on a couple of things that you said there. The 4 Ds. Wonderful. Because what you're doing is providing a framework for people to manage their time and manage their priorities. You've obviously done this yourself, Christie. So I guess the question I want to ask you, what do you do with all this extra time that you've gained back from, applying what you are teaching into your life? How do you, what do you do for fun, and how do you utilize your time now that you've got a really great framework?
Great question. Well, I'm a highly sensitive person, and I'd say I spend a lot of my time resting and actually recuperating. I love my work, but it can take a lot from me. So this is where that energy comes into it. Resting is, in our society, is often seen as wasted time, or you're not being productive, but it's completely the opposite. The more you're able to rest and have self-care in your schedule, in your life, the more productive you actually are, and the health benefits are immense. So for myself, fun wise and just with energy recuperation, it's a lot of resting, reading, watching films, socializing. I have all of that scheduled into my calendar. It's called proactive relaxation. So really ensuring that all of that is accounted for, because it's the balance of life, making sure that everything is in the calendar. I was actually working with a client just the other week, and we were looking at his calendar, and he was very distracted by these blank pockets that he had, and kept forgetting that actually he had enough on. He didn't need to fill everything. So what we did was actually go through those pockets and just say, this is thinking time, and this is relaxation time. And that really helped him visualize that actually these things were priorities, and he had to actually do it, commit to relaxation.
That's really fascinating, that you've helped him in that way, but you also, that's how you structure your time. I haven't thought about structuring time for fun, for thinking time, for relaxing, for reading. And I guess that's what time management is about. It's not work, it's managing your time throughout your life and all the things that go with that. So I can see how you can have that. It's a work-life integration, really, and it's a framework that you're providing. A couple of key words that you mentioned I want to pick up on. You mentioned earlier about people feeling like they're drowning with too much to do, trying to get on top of their priorities. So what advice do you have for people that are starting to feel like that or are experiencing that right now, if you're listening or watching our interview today?
It's definitely, I think, becoming more and more common in our society these days. This feeling of drowning, of just too much to do, too many options, and there's so much access to just everything around us. So my advice for someone who feels that they're drowning or nearing burnout is to stop, take a moment, actually breathe, review your to-do list, apply the 4Ds, and again, delete, delay, diminish, delegate, and look at what you can take off of your plate. I think a lot of the work with getting off of the hamster wheel, if you will, is actually changing the mindset around, do I want to be this busy? What does busy mean to me? Can I stop being busy? Do I need to buy into this storyline that society is pushing on us? How can I do life differently? How can I manage my time differently? So there's a bit of a philosophical answer in there, as well as to take stock of what's important to you and look at what actually you want your life to look like, and then apply those technical skills of reviewing the list and applying our priorities to what we're actually spending our time on, and then looking at setting some foundations in place. So we've dealt with the crisis, and then we're looking at the foundations of how we can make sure that this doesn't happen again going forward. But that first step is just take a breath, stop and review and plan. Planning is very underrated.
Well, what about that contrast? What about the people that that are busy, they get through a lot of work, but they tend to focus on the easy tasks, Christie, the stuff that they can get done, and the important stuff tends to be a second priority. How could someone that manages their time and their workload, how could they turn that around in terms of managing their important things as well?
Well, yeah, very good twist on that. So turning that around, often we're getting grabbing all the easy things because it makes us feel productive, because it makes us feel accomplished. So it's again looking at that mindset of what is actually an achievement to us, and if we have more important things on our list but we're just not getting to them, is it because they feel too big? Do we need to break them down to the size that then they feel the same as the easy stuff that we keep gravitating towards? So there's a few tricks around making those bigger projects smaller so that they become a bit more tantalizing, but often it's grabbing those quick things is a bit like bubble gum. At the end of your week, if you fast forward to the end of the week and you think, what are some things I want to have achieved? Often those easy things aren't going to be what comes to mind. It'll be the other stuff. So it's changing the mindset around making those bigger projects easier, so that they're more fun to do.
So what you're effectively doing is really setting up a framework for people for managing their time. Is that an accurate summary? I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but I think that's what you're doing, getting them to create or establish healthy routines and practices. So what do you personally do? What practices for you, Christie, are your not negotiables, the things that you just have to do no matter what happens? They're in your diary, and the things that are so important that you do no matter what. What would they be?
So my non-negotiables are exercise. So that's either walking, running, or at the moment YouTube exercise video. So some sort of activity in the morning. Journaling, lots of journaling. I really love journaling. It's just a great way to empty my mind and keep track of where things are up to. And yeah, it's something I do every day, and I just wouldn't be the same without it. As well as planning my day. So taking that time in the morning to look at what's coming up and to adjust for anything that's come in or needs to take priority. So planning and the journaling, they're my non-negotiables, as well as the exercise and lunch. Definitely lunch. I don't understand people who are like, oh, I forgot to eat, or oh, I just like, I haven't had lunch yet. And it's like, oh wow, I would not be able to cope.
Me either. And I always start off with a good breakfast as well.
Yeah.
Now, what about, you've worked with a variety of people in, your background in this area, and you're a real expert in it. What are some of the traits that you notice about people that are successful in managing their time, that have got this to a fine art after working with you? What are the traits that you're noticing?
Definitely planning. Being able to plan ahead and think through their week in a kind of methodical kind of way, to account for commute times, to account for unexpected interruptions. So planning is a key to success. As well as being able to be flexible with incoming information and being able to reprioritize things. So being able to apply those skills daily that allow them to reprioritize and make sure that their priorities and what they're working on are actually, of importance.
Now, Christie, you're a member of the coaching directory. So I'd like to know, what does it mean for you and your business in joining the coaching directory?
So joining the coaching directory to me was an opportunity to be connected to other coaches that are just doing amazing work. And it also helps my clients, because then there's aspects that aren't my zone of genius that I can connect them to other coaches that do provide what they are needing. So just the network and connectivity of being in a community of coaches is just so enlightening and really heartening. And also, I just love that the coaching directory elevates the status of coaches, because there are a lot of coaches out in the world, and this is just a great way of bringing together high quality coaches. So thank you very much, Carla, and the coaching directory.
It's our pleasure to have you on the directory, and thanks for joining us today. This brings us to the end of our interview today, and thank you, Christie, for joining us on Meet the Coach and for improving our productivity muscles and improving our relationship, I guess, with time. So thank you so much, Christie.
Thank you very much.
And thank you to our audience for watching and listening to Meet the Coach. You can connect with Christie from Flora and Order through the coaching directory. If you enjoyed our show, please rate and review us, and be sure to catch us in the next episode. This is Carla Egan from the coaching directory, where we connect you to your ideal coach.